Hey guys, it's Sarah from the Dainty Pear, and today we're talking about anxiety because we like to have fun here. Yay, anxiety! Let's be honest, anxiety stinks, and I will be the first person to say that wholeheartedly, but I feel like it's important to talk about because it's something that so many people, especially women, struggle with, and it can be very lonely. And whether it's postpartum anxiety, whether it's just a more generalized anxiety and panic, I feel like it's still a little bit taboo and people have a harder time talking about it. Some people have had anxiety for a long time, some it's just been brought on, which may seem like it was out of nowhere, which kind of stinks, but really there's usually an underlying cause, whether it be a stressful situation or period of time, hormones or blood sugar, diet, not enough sleep, just things like that. But I just wanted to share some little tools that you can keep in your back pocket in case your anxiety or panic is flaring up. First, obviously, if you haven't talked to your doctor, please do that. It is a brave step, and I know that it can be hard to do that, but it's important just to rule out anything else so that you know that if it is anxiety, then you know what you can focus on, which is helping clear those panicked, anxious feelings. So first, we're just going to do a couple of quick breathing patterns. I know sometimes people don't like to focus on their breath, which I completely understand, because when my anxiety was at its most intense stage, I found myself focusing on my breath too much, and I would try and breathe in and breathe in and breathe in because I felt like I wasn't getting a deep enough breath, if that makes sense, and I ended up just hyperventilating, and that is not helpful. And these breaths might look familiar if you have seen any of my birth breathing videos, and that's because they serve a similar purpose, which is to calm down the body and mind and bring you into more of a present state. Many times anxiety makes you feel out of control, mentally, physically, and sometimes it's nice to have something that you are in control of, so that controlled breathing can sometimes be helpful. So let's get started. The first one is called square breathing, and with square breathing, all you really need to remember is the number 4. So breathe in for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, hold it out for 4 counts. And you want to do that about 4 times or as many times as you need to reset that breathing or to just feel a little bit more calm. And of course, you can modify these breaths to whatever feels good to you. You can change the number of counts on them. You can just change it up. But the important thing, especially for this next breath, is that the breath out is longer than the breath in, and that will help prevent that hyperventilation. So the next one is breathing in for 4 counts and out for 8 counts. And this is actually my favorite breathing for during labor, because when you're slowly breathing and counting the breath, it's making you focus on that breath. And you can kind of just turn to butter everywhere else. And I know during a panic attack, during those anxious moments, that is really, really hard to relax. I totally get that, but practicing this enough times helped me. So let's try it. In for 4 counts. And doing that for as many times as you need can be really helpful because it can allow that parasympathetic nervous system to kick in and help you know that you're safe and you're okay. So again, the numbers can be changed, adjust it to whatever feels good to you, but on that breath, make sure that the out breath is longer than the in breath. The next thing that can help an anxious moment is distraction. And kind of my own philosophy on that is I feel like distraction is a great tool, and I actually still use it really often, but it shouldn't be our only tool, because I feel like it is important to sometimes just sit in that anxiety and find ways that help it that aren't distraction, because then you're getting to know your own body, you're getting to know what kind of triggers it into anxiety and what helps it. But if we're constantly distracting ourselves, especially by like social media or things that are putting more information in than clearing out, then that's when I feel like it becomes a problem. But some of my favorite distraction tools can be putting on a funny show, turning on some music that you enjoy, dancing it out, just turning that scared kind of energy into something else. and texting a friend or starting a project. Those things can help refocus our mind, and I feel like anybody who has had anxiety knows that every single ounce of energy, of thought process, of just, everything goes into feeding that anxiety, or, oh my gosh, what's happening? Or, it's not fun. And so rechanneling the energy has proved to be a great thing for me. The next thing is meditate. This one can be tricky for me because honestly, in a really anxious state, the last thing I wanted to do was be alone with my own anxious thoughts. It sounded like torture. The thought of going on a walk made me feel more panicked than just doing something else. And now I love it. I feel like it's something that you can grow to love, especially once you're more desensitized. One of my favorite books talks about when you've dealt with anxiety for so long, you become sensitized, and you're highly sensitized even, and your nerves are just shot. And so once you start doing things that make you more desensitized and make your nerves more relaxed, then I feel like you can enjoy things like that more. I love some simple yoga. I love just being able to sit and breathe for a minute, where before that was not enjoyable at all. So don't be discouraged if that's not something you enjoy at this point in time, but I would definitely try and incorporate it in at least a little bit. Next is remembering. Remembering that this has happened before, remembering that you were okay when that happened. Anxiety and panic can bring on some scary and unsettling physical sensations. And so if we can remember, okay, I have had that before and this was the outcome, or it went away after this amount of time, or I remember having this and it didn't last forever. Even just a little bit of encouragement coming from ourselves can make a huge difference. Next one is easing into the discomfort. Not gonna lie, this one can be hard. Some professionals will call it floating through anxiety, which just basically means that instead of fighting your anxiety and like tensing up or pushing it away or anything like that, you kind of embrace it and you welcome it as a friend and you just see what happens next, and whatever sensation happens next, I'm okay with. And honestly, although this is the hardest, this has also been the most helpful for me. So I wish I could just get all the cures and just give it to you on a platter. But the problem with that is that everybody is so different, and what helps me might not help you, what helps you might not be helpful for your neighbor. So again, instead of pushing away the anxiety or getting scared of it, try and just welcome it and sit with it for a minute. And this reminds me of labor and delivery. Of course I have to bring in birth because I love birth and we talk a lot about it here. When you're going through contraction, if you can welcome it and breathe through it, instead of pushing it away and tensing up, it makes you so much more calm and ready to focus on what you have to deal with at hand. And the more effective contractions will be in labor. Next is get support. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. If you really do feel like there is something off going on with you, it's always a good idea to talk with your doctor. They can do some testing, do some blood work, just do an evaluation to make sure that you are at your best physical self, and they do this all the time. So definitely check with your doctor first, just to rule anything out, and they might be able to provide insight for you. And if it is just anxiety, then sweet, let's move forward with trying to feel better. For some people, that looks like medication. For some people, that looks like therapy. For some people, where it's not as severe, it looks like watching a YouTube video like this, or reading a book on it, or finding a community of people who are going through a similar thing. Because I promise you, you are not the only person who has gone through this, who is going through this, or who feels alone in it. Being willing to be vulnerable about it, even if it's just with yourself at first, where you realize, okay, I should probably look into getting some sort of help, or looking for resources to help me feel better. Because there's no reason to go through it without those. That's where the true healing can start to take place. Hopefully there was something in here that resonates with you, and I would love to hear what you do to help clear your anxiety down in the comments below. And we'll talk more about different kinds of anxiety and more on postpartum anxiety and depression and things like that. So subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will talk to you guys later.